Episode 11, Chapter 10, I Am the Lizard King. Chapter 10, I Am the Lizard King.
Ah, Corneria is nice this time of year.
Drake smiled, relaxing on the deck of the Icarus as it flew up and away from Luke's homeland.
Nice to take a few days off. We deserved it, I think.
Mary agreed.
It's not like Kraken or Tiamat, or Bahamut for that matter, are going anywhere. Yeah.
Luke was leaning against the rail, watching Princess Sarah wave goodbye from the highest tower in the castle.
Nice to see Sarah again, too.
His face shifted to a grin.
Almost as nice as the look on my brother's face when we came tearing out of the sky with this sucker. Although I still say you didn't really need to clip the castle roof like that, Vicky. So I'm still not used to steering in 6 directions stead of just 4.
Vicky shrugged.
Cry me a brief spring shower. That goose you just ran down would agree with you, I think.
Vlad noted.
That'll be a pain to scrape off the hull. No waves to do that anymore.
By common consensus, the Light Warriors had agreed to stop by Corneria again for a few more days of rest on their way to the north. It was on the way, after all. The royal family had all been pleased to see their new acquisition, but not so pleased about their choice of pilot, and had wished them luck on their trip to Cardia. After some initial trouble, Vicky and his crew now seemed to have the running of the airship down flat. Testing of its capabilities showed that it moved at twice the speed of the Amphitrite in full sail. They had reached Corneria from Crescent Lake in 3 days. Best of all, there were no fights. It seemed even those monsters capable of flying steered clear of the airship. This met with some grumbling from the pirates, who had wanted to test out some interesting weapons installed into the vessel on live targets, but the fun of flight kept that down, coupled with Drake's reminder that they would be taking on the Fiend of Air herself in the end. Corneria's taverns had mellowed them further, and it was a happy crew altogether that flew north through the clouds, towards the fabled Cardia Islands, where the dragons made their home.
Hey! That dragon sage, Macgarrison, said something about them being exiled from their homeland.
Drake looked over at the mages.
Is that something you two know about? I thought the dragons always lived in Cardia.
They both nodded.
Actually, they've only lived on Cardia for about 300 years.
Vlad explained.
They're originally from the land of Drakir. Don't tell me you thought the name of that place was just a coincidence. I did think that was kind of odd.
Luke admitted.
But I know about Drakir now. It's nearly uninhabited. Complete wilderness. About the only people there are barbarians, like that Gakath guy in the circle. What happened? Tiamat.
Mary frowned.
For some reason, she became obsessed with the dragons. And killing them wasn't enough. She actually managed to corrupt some of them. Convert them into her cursed servants. The dragons made war, and in the end Tiamat's side won. The survivors of the good dragons were forced to flee to a new land, out of Tiamat's reach. They chose the islands of Cardia for that, and they've lived there ever since, while their unlucky brethren remained enslaved to Tiamat. Like Ifrit, and those two back in the ice cave. That ain't right.
Luke growled.
Fighting is one thing. But making somebody go up against their own friends and family? Knowing they're not themselves and never will be, anymore? Not even Lich and Carrie were that bad. Oh, yes they were.
Vlad disagreed firmly.
They just never had the chance, or the thought, of doing that sort of thing. Fires told me that Tiamat is the most intelligent of the 4 fiends. Couple that with the hatred and cruelty towards everything that lives that all 4 feel in every moment, and you've got what happened to the dragons. If the fiends had their way, everybody and everything would suffer that same fate before dying as horribly as possible. That won't happen.
Mary shook her head.
It won't. We'll stop them from ever doing something like that, ever again. And not just the dragons. I understand Kraken did something almost as bad to the merfolk. That he did, lass. That he did.
Vicky confirmed, for once sounding dead serious.
Mind, I suppose it's not as bad as the mumbo-jumbo Tiamat did on the lizardy folks. But it was still a right bad turn they didn't deserve, and I'm not normally the sort to care about that sort of thing, so you know it's big.
He shrugged, relaxing.
But we'll get into all that once we reach Onrak. For now, we got other things to worry about. Like if the dragons know who I am. Normally, I'm all for fightin' off hostile welcome parties, but dragons are something else altogether. Don't worry. If Bahamut invited us personally through Macgarison, I'm sure he knows about you and knows you're on our side.
Drake shrugged.
And if not, we'll yell at the guys and show the orbs until they back down. Just think of us as your ID badge into restricted ports. Ain't had no restricted ports before.
Vicky complained.
Just ports I didn't want to go to and ports where I didn't give a damn what they thought.
He sighed theatrically.
Oh well, hazards of being a law-abiding sort now and all that. Pillar of the community, that's me. You're a trooper, Vicky.
Mary laughed.
You can handle it. Suppose it's not nearly as bad as that grape shot to the face I took when I was 20.
The pirate captain admitted.
Only reason I lived through that is 'cause the dumbasses on the other side thought they was actually supposed to load grapes into the cannon. Killed me hat, though. Would those enemy pirates have happened to be ogres, by any chance?
Drake inquired. There was a pause in the conversation as all aboard considered the mental image of ogre pirates, then shuddered in unison.
Don't ever suggest that again.
Mr. Smite growled from his position in the back of the deck with a crow's nest impractical. Lookout duty had gotten more complicated and required several spots around the rails.
The peg legs. Ugh. It was the hooks that got me.
Vlad winced.
The wizard ogres in Gurgu were bad enough. Ogre pirates? Just plain wrong. Not even the fiends would go that far, and that's saying something. Well, not unless one of them chomped a kind of mushroom we've got in Elfland.
Drake amended.
I'm pretty sure it would make even the fiends see some things a little differently. Remind me to never let you do the cooking.
Mary noted. The next day, specks on the horizon gradually drew closer, and became the Cardia Islands. There were 5 of them, long, strip-shaped land masses rising out of the ocean, 2 of them covered with strange, tropical trees. And from those trees, rising into the sky, dragons came, their scales blue and yellow and red and every other color, to watch the airship come to their home. 2 of them, purple and pink, flew over and landed on the airship.
Hey there!
The purple-scaled, larger one grinned at them.
You would be the light warriors, then? Nice to meet you. This is Huon, and I'm Razi. I suppose you would call us the guys in charge of the guards. Welcome to Cardia. Nice to meet you, too.
Luke nodded in agreement.
You've got us pegged, all right. I'm Luke, the guy with the goofy grin is Drake, the lady's Mary and the fella in the hat is Vlad. The rest of these jokers are Bicky the pirate's crew. Oh, we know about them too.
Huon smirked, speaking with a surprisingly feminine voice.
Crescent Lake sent us all the details, including a rap sheet almost as long as Kraken's.
She raised an eyebrow.
Was the incident with the mayor of that fishing town on Onrak's coast really necessary?
For once, Vicky actually looked embarrassed.
I was hoping nobody'd remember that.
He muttered.
I was 18, I was drunk, I was stupid. Things happen. If you call Red Caribbees things, yes, I suppose they do.
Huan chuckled before letting it drop.
Alright, we'll show you where to park this thing. We live on all the islands, but you'll probably want to drop onto the one where His Majesty lives. That would be best, yeah.
Drake agreed, looking down at the islands.
So which one is it? Please tell me it's not that tiny little one. Vicky's landing skills aren't too sharp yet. Let's see you try and do it then, elf boy.
The pirate shot back.
I'll pass. Thought you would. No, it's not.
Razy cut the squabbling off.
It's the western one with all the trees on it. Almost as bad.
Vicky grumbled.
We figure this thing shouldn't do landing on lots of trees. I'll just have to try and get it on one of those clear spots near the coast.
Slowly, steadily, he brought the airship into a frozen halt in the air.
Right, look over the edge and see if I'm over the right spot. We can do more than that.
Razy grinned as he and Huan dived over the edge.
Okay. A little to your right. Starboard.
Drake clarified.
Yeah.
Vicky moved the ship accordingly.
Now. You're good.
Huan yelled.
Bring it down.
Vicky did so, and the propellers slowly began winding down, the ship descending to Earth. The two dragons were waiting for them as the 4 light warriors disembarked.
Not coming, Vicky. I don't exactly have a good track record with royalty.
The pirate admitted.
We just tend to stay on board. Got any monsters on these places to keep ourselves busy with? Plenty.
Razy confirmed.
Catmen, manticores, saurias, sphinxes, worms, and more. We'll be just fine then.
Vicky waved.
Go on with ya, kiddies, meet the king. We'll be here when you're ready to go. Just don't get yourself a wanted level in this place too.
Drake waved as they followed the two dragons towards a large, round cave mouth. Entering, they found that the halls led down through an entire underground city, meeting and intersecting the same way streets would in a human city, doors set all along the sides leading to private residences and places of work. Friendly dragons of widely varied size and color walked by busily, pausing to smile and wave as the visitors continued to their destinations.
So, what's the deal here? We heard His Majesty wanted to meet with us, but that was about it. We're not really sure ourselves.
Razy admitted.
Ever since the Dragon War, His Majesty has been vague, may be the best way to put it. He tends to spend most of his days in solitude, and rarely concerns himself with worldly matters. But when Macgarrison had his revelation, he began taking an interest in that. And then you came. We all felt it here when you killed Lich. It was like His Majesty was coming back to life after being dead inside for so long. And then Carrie was slain as well, and His Majesty decided he could remain out of things no more. He's even sitting on his throne again now. You'll want to be careful with him regardless.
Huan warned as they walked down the tunnel.
He's still moody and temperamental. And very cynical, after the Dragon War. Whatever you do, don't lose your own tempers. If things escalate too far, he might lose control of himself, and we do not want a brawl with your king in his own throne room.
Luke shuddered.
Believe me, we agree. We'll be very careful. Excellent.
Razy nodded approvingly.
Here we are, then.
He and Huan paused in front of a pair of dragon-sized double doors, with the face of one of their kind engraved on them.
He'll want to see you alone? Good luck.
Nodding, the light warriors walked through, and into the throne room of the Dragon King.
"Ah! You have come!"
A coarse, rusty voice echoed through the empty hall from the huge form at the back. Despite his size, Bahamut seemed far smaller than he could. This was due to the way he was hunched over, squatting low on the ancient throne. At first, his scales seemed an dusty grey, but as they drew closer they saw that both him and his throne were covered in literal, real dust over scales black as coal. Even sitting and hunched over, wings covering him like a cloak, he towered a good 15 feet tall, the same height Razi and Huan had reached standing. Eyes a dull, faded yellow, Bahamut looked down upon the light warriors as they approached his throne.
"Your Majesty!"
Luke saluted.
"We've come as you requested, indeed. Thank you for inviting us to your home."
Something flickered in the age-old eyes, and the Dragon King snorted.
"My home? This isn't my home. My home is in Drakir. This is a hiding spot for cowards who ran away. If that makes an impression on you, then you're welcome to it."
He laughed, dark and grim, then stopped just as suddenly.
"So? The Light Warriors, huh? Not as impressive as I thought you would be. You four killed Lich and Carrie, huh? Can't see that. Would you like some proof, Your Majesty?"
Drake replied, tone friendly and polite. Bahamut shook his head.
"No, it's not needed. I know they're dead, and if you were imposters you wouldn't have known to come here. Wouldn't have the guts, either. Still, looking at you, I wouldn't figure you bunch could take out that piddly vampire Lich Head wearing his crown, let alone the big boy himself or little Miss Napalm. A beat cop from Corneria, an elvish street rat, and a couple bookworms who can make pretty lights and loud noises. This is what I've been waiting for ever since Macgarison went funny in the head. With respect, sir, sometimes you can't judge a book or a bookworm by their cover,"
Mary suggested. Bahamut's eyes narrowed oh so slightly.
"That's so."
Without a trace of warning, the dragon's tail shot out from beneath his wings, screaming around like a whip at their feet. Instantly, Vlad and Mary jumped it, Drake leaped next to Luke, and the two of them grabbed it, holding it back. Pulling it away, Bahamut nodded.
"Not bad. Didn't even get one of you. You're balanced as a team, if not as individuals. Maybe, you could have brought down those two. If you got lucky." "Damn right we did,"
Drake agreed.
"And we'll bring the other two down the same way." "No. You won't."
Bahamut sighed heavily.
"And don't think that's some macho bullshit, because it's not. It's a statement of fact. Lich and Carrie? A jailbird and a lazy bum. But Kraken and Tiamat know you're coming, and they know you're serious, and you won't get lucky with them. And without that, the way you are now, you can't win. You're good, but not good enough." "Are you offering suggestions to change that?"
Vlad asked mildly. Bahamut grinned suddenly.
"Well, that all depends. You've faced down two fiends so far, kids. With that in mind, let me ask you. Would you want to fight me?"
His eyes glimmered, and around him, the light warriors suddenly felt something in the air. Power, like the fiends but not exactly, not evil or cruel but wild and old and terrible.
"No, sir."
Luke spoke for them all.
"I don't think we'd want to do that." "Good."
Bahamut continued grinning.
"Glad to hear that. Means you've got brains as well as guts. I don't know about Kraken, but I'm dead certain that Tiamat at least is even worse than I am. So if you're nervous about duking it out with me, you really don't want to throw down with the Fiend of Air just yet. Not like you are. On the other hand, what if I told you how you could get stronger? A lot stronger." Let's hear the fine print first,
Drake replied, and the Dragon King chuckled.
Putting it simply, training. You've all had it with the sages. Now I'm giving you the chance to do some more, with the oldest, toughest, meanest mortal around. I can't take the fiends, but I'm one person. You're four, and if I work with you for a month, you will. Guarantee it. But before I do that, you're gonna have to prove yourselves to me a little more. You know where Drakir is?
They nodded.
Good. Up there's a castle. That's my home. We've got a tradition here, ever since we got kicked out. Anybody who goes there and comes back with something out of the throne room to prove they made it through, and busts up the asshole monsters infesting the place now, gets a title and bragging rights like whoa. Never been available to non-dragons before. It's called the test of courage. Pull it off, and I'll teach you.
He leaned back a little.
It's up to you. Your call. I won't try to order you, or make you do it. You want to, you can just decide I'm a senile old newt and never come back here. But I'm hoping you don't. 'Cause while what you are now may be better than most, it's still nothing compared to what you can be. If you'll let me, I'll bring out every bit of that potential, and we'll see how Kraken and Tiamat like that. Up to you. Well, guys.
Luke looked at the others.
What do you say? I'm in.
Drake shrugged.
Man's got a point. We'll need all the help we can get against those two. Agreed. If it's at all possible, I'd really rather not have to bring somebody back from the dead again.
Mary smiled.
I'm for it as well. I don't even want to think about what a certain lady of my acquaintance would say if I backed down from this.
Vlad concurred.
We're all for it, then.
Luke nodded to Bahamut.
We'll be off to this castle tomorrow, then. Good men.
The Dragon King cackled.
Come back alive, then. I'll be waiting for you.
They nodded and walked out, finding Razi and Huan waiting for them.
How'd it go?
The male dragon asked.
Not bad. He didn't go ape on us, anyways.
Drake shrugged.
Said he wants to train us personally, but first we gotta do something called the test of courage. Involving your old castle. Well, now.
Huan whistled.
His Majesty hasn't personally trained anybody since our exile. But that test is no laughing matter. It's swarming with monsters, and that's not the worst of it. It's been cursed by the dead dragons left behind there, and they still roam its halls. We've seen worse.
Luke shrugged.
We'll just have to deal. I assume you can show us where it is. We'll mark it on your map.
Razi nodded.
Will you be wanting to stay the night? We don't exactly have inns or anything, but you're welcome to stay at our place. Hey, thanks. That'd be great.
Drake grinned.
The ship's nice and all, but I really prefer sleeping on solid land. Don't mention it.
Huan shook her head.
You guys are killing the fiends, this is the least we can do. You lead the way, Raz. I'll go out and kill an ankylo for dinner.
The dragon's home turned out to be a pleasant side cavern that was more furnished than the light warriors expected, albeit on a larger scale, and once Huan had brought back the monster's corpse, Razi cooked it surprisingly well over an indoor fire pit.
Before you ask, no, neither of us can breathe fire.
He guessed.
Actually, only the fire dragons can, and they're just one clan. Each one has a different elemental breath attack. We guessed as much when we ran into some frost dragons in the ice cave.
Vlad noted.
You've run into some of our accursed brethren, then?
Huan sighed.
Tiamat's mind slaves. This may sound odd, but thank you for killing them. It's the only thing that can be done for them now. There's no hope for them at all, then?
Mary asked.
None.
Razi confirmed bleakly.
Believe me, if there was, we would have found it in the Dragon War. We certainly tried. But it was all to no avail. Tiamat's corruption of them is irreversible.
His and Huan's eyes were both dimmed.
It was horrible. Friends, family, people we had been living with, fighting side by side, just days before, would be on the other side without warning. Each day, more and more. It went on for 100 years, until finally, in one massive strike, Bahamut and his queen, Shiva, managed to break through to Tiamat herself.
Huan continued the tale.
At first, we thought they might actually have a chance at victory. Between them, they had Tiamat on the ropes. But she overpowered them both. And when they were weakened and wounded, she corrupted Queen Shiva. Bahamut fled, nearly dead, and ordered us to evacuate. To abandon Drakir, and flee beyond Tiamat's grasp. We had lost. Wait. His queen? As in? His wife.
Luke's eyes widened.
Holy hell! No wonder he's so bitter. Exactly.
Razi nodded.
She's still at Tiamat's side, even now. Ever since he awoke from his recovery and found himself here, His Majesty has been a broken dragon. Until now. Now. He thinks you can kill Tiamat. He certainly didn't act like it.
Drake frowned.
The way he was talking, it sounded like he thought we weren't worth his time. It's just the weight of what's happened to him.
Razi sighed.
His crown is even more heavy than those of the other kings in this world. But he offered to train you. He wouldn't have done that unless he seriously believed you could win. Then we'll just have to make it happen.
Luke decided, and the other three nodded.
And we'll make Tiamat pay for everything that she did, for every single dragon whose life she ruined. Just like with Lich and Carrie. Before we're done, Kraken and Tiamat are going to regret their own freaking existence. With that kind of spirit, the test of courage will be no problem for you guys.
Huan grinned.
Just hope you're tough enough for what comes after. It'd really suck to make it out of the castle only to get killed in His Majesty's special training camp for heroes. Yes, we'll do our best to avoid that.
Vlad promised dryly.
You do that.
Razi smiled approvingly.
All right, looks like this meet's just about done. Dig in, everybody.
Unfortunately, upon reaching Drakir, the crew of the Icarus discovered a drawback to the airship. As Bicky had guessed, its landing system was not designed to work on rough or forested terrain, let alone mountains which described 99% of Drakir. The closest spot upon which they could land the ship was a plain that was a week's walk from the castle. A week's walk through forest, stalked by saber-toothed tigers, desert, running screaming from massive earthquakes created by hostile sandworms, more forest, constantly on the lookout for saurias, massive lizards whose stare turned them to stone, swampland, massively built ankylos, with incredibly thick armor built onto their bodies, crossing a river, stronger, red-hued versions of fishy caribes and plant-like ochos, and yet more forest, an attack flight of evil wyverns screaming out of the sky, apparently sent by Tiamat. Finally, they emerged from their one-night cabin and walked out of the trees into a clearing filled with the Castle of Dragon. Like the northwest castle Astos had occupied, it had a feeling of abandonment and destruction, but here this was only a feeling, the castle itself remained intact and whole. No holes in the walls, no missing sections of roofing, nothing outwardly wrong at all. And still it could be felt. The castle was dead, and had been so for a very long time.
Well, at least there's nobody up on top shooting arrows and pouring boiling pitch on us.
Luke shrugged.
Oh.
Mary casually brained a sneaking sphinx.
What would you have done if there had been? Gone back to Bicky and done a bombing run.
The fighter replied promptly.
But that might have pissed off Bahamut, so it's all for the best that we didn't. What the heck is a bombing run, anyways?
Drake inquired as they approached the castle. The doors were dragon-sized, but they were rusted open, so the light warriors were able to enter easily.
It's on one of those buttons that work the weapons systems on the airship.
Luke explained with a shudder.
Let's just say I feel sorry for that herd of sheep he tested it on. Hello, what's this?
At the end of the entrance hall, an old man was walking towards them. As he grew close, they could see that his body was partially transparent.
A ghost.
Vlad realized.
Hostile. Doesn't seem to be, but I've got a harm spell ready anyways.
Mary assured him.
Hello, mister. Hee hee. Humans, are you? Haven't seen any of you here since. Well, forever.
The ghost cackled.
Since I've been here, anyways. Are you here for the test of courage, then? I'm surprised the old king let humans do it. We're not exactly normal humans.
Drake explained with a grin.
Ever heard of the Light Warriors? Nope. Don't know, don't care.
The old ghost replied easily.
Only thing that concerns me is the test right here. If old B sent you, I'm your man. Let's see here, entrance requirements, entrance requirements.
Shuffling around in his robes, the old man produced a piece of parchment and a quill pen.
Right. Sound mind and body, yeah, you got that? Recommendation from authority, you've met the king and he didn't stomp you. I think we can forego the suggested gratuities, you look broke anyways. Hey!
Drake growled.
Hold on. You got a crown of some sort?
The ghost asked. The light warriors all looked at each other.
No.
Luke replied eventually. The old man snorted.
Bah, don't matter. Nobody ever does. Right then, just sign to absolve us, the Castle of Ordeals, of any liability due to harm, poisoning, stunning, sedatives, petrification, death or other cost to your persons while on the premises. What?
Mary blinked.
It means sign so we know you won't send lawyers after us.
The old man explained.
Oh. Okay.
Luke took the pen and wrote his name down.
What's a lawyer?
Drake asked as he followed suit.
Another one of those buttons on the airship's weapons.
The fighter answered.
You don't want to know, trust me.
Mary and Vlad wrote their names down as well, and the old man pulled the paper back.
All right, go to the room in the back on your left, then jump on the throne to start. Good luck.
Waving, he disappeared in a puff of smoke, coughing.
Right.
Drake shrugged after a few minutes of silence.
Well, whatever. Might as well go.
Walking to the specified room, the light warriors looked at the huge, dragon-sized throne.
Well, he said to jump on it.
Luke shook his head.
Might as well.
They jumped, their feet touched rotting velvet. And the castle swirled around them.
Oh ugh! That thing didn't look alcoholic.
Luke groaned, clutching his head.
What the hell? You guys okay? Guys.
He blinked, looking around. The other 3 light warriors were all gone, and he stood alone at the end of a hall.
God damn it! When I get my hands on that old guy.
Huh? The fighter frowned as he heard footsteps from around a corner.
That you, fellas?
Walking towards it, he froze as a hideous, green-furred humanoid with a cat-like head met him.
Hoops! Definitely not!
It roared and lunged, slashing him across the arm before he split its head open.
So much for that. What's next?
More roaring from nearby replied, and the fighter groaned.
More of the same. Great. Oh well, can't be too bad, right?
Turning the corner, he discovered a pack of 6.
Crap. A human.
One of them snarled.
I'll have the head. Feel free, this one looks bony up there.
Another snickered.
Great, they think they're comedians.
Luke muttered, waving his sword. Okay, this could be bad by myself. What to do? Drake would dodge around and run like hell, Vlad would blast them all with one good spell, Mary would turn invisible and get away. Me? I'd charge like a bull. Shit. Well, not like I have any other options. Bellowing, he slashed at the first one to speak, ripping through the closet guarded with and carving out a lung.
Looks like we'll need to cook the meat first.
Another growled, and all of them began chanting. After many months traveling with Vlad, Luke recognized the words.
Oh no!
Freeing his sword, he slew another just before the others finished their spells, and waves of fire poured out from their claws, washing over the fighter. Howling, Luke threw himself into a side room through the closed door and hit the floor rolling, attempting to put out the flames. Without checking if he had succeeded, he rose again and dashed through another door. On second thought, time to take a cue from Drake. Wait, just running's no good. He'd be more crafty. Instead of continuing his dash, the fighter waited by the side of the second door. When a man-cat came through, his sword separated it from its head, then followed suit with the startled next. Unfortunately, the other 2 repeated the Fire 2 spell, and Luke was sent flying and on fire again into a back wall.
Ah, not again! Brothers!
One of the 2 survivors yelled.
Come to us, there's an intruder! Oh, shut up!
Luke charged, still blazing, and slew them both with one mighty swing, then frantically extinguished himself again only to hear footsteps approaching.
Damn, damn, damn!
Dashing into another side room, he leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. The burn wounds were deep, and despite his victory over the man-cats so far, he knew a similarly sized pack again would finish him.
Damn it all! Where are the other guys when I...
He blinked.
The guys. Are they dealing with this too?
He swore again.
If I'm having this much trouble, I've got to find them, and fast. But how?
Looking around the room, his eyes found something odd, a polished marble staff, white and shining, on some sort of pedestal.
What's this supposed to be? Magic.
He picked it up and examined it. Dimly, he felt a sort of power from it.
Feels like those spells Mary uses to heal us. Shame I'm about as good at magic as I am at knitting. Is that so?
The old man from the castle's entrance walked out of a shadow, making Luke jump.
Or do you just believe that? You've seen for yourself that your normal approach won't always cut it. Shouldn't you try something else, then? Magic? Me?
Luke blinked.
That's not my department. I just slash stuff and take hits. And that's working so well so far.
The old man rolled his eyes.
You haven't even tried. Think about what's important to you. That staff is enchanted, it has the magic. Even you can use it. You just have to want to. What's important to you? Why do you have to live? If those man-cats find you like you are, you'll die. Can you afford to have that happen? No.
Luke's fist closed around the staff.
I can't. The others. Maybe they can make it by themselves. But if they can't, I have to be there to help. That's why I was made strong. To do good. I need to live. I need to win. I need to be strong. And I am.
White light emanated from the staff, washing over him, and the burns faded.
I am strong. Not for myself, but for my friends. For them, I can be as strong as I need to be, no matter how much that is.
The door burst open, and man-cats poured through, but Luke's sword was already moving, slashing through 1, 2, 3. Fire covered him, but he continued cutting, hacking, slashing, killing. He felt pain, but it did not kill him, and what didn't kill could be endured. And when all of them were dead, the staff healed him again, and he stood before the old man with sword held high.
Anything else? Looks like you did a good job to me.
The old man nodded approvingly.
Right then. Through there.
He pointed at another door. Walking through, Luke found himself back in the hall, now at the other end, where he saw a single white pillar. Walking forward, he touched it curiously, and the castle spun again.
Who, what, where? Okay, focus.
Drake shook his head.
Okay. Situation. New Castle Hall, still alive. Nobody else here. Well, this is bad.
Thinking for a moment, he pulled out the earth orb.
Hey, you there? Yes, of course.
Earth's face appeared in the wall.
What can I? Oh. You're here. Then.
The element's eyes looked around for a few moments.
I see. By yourself. This probably won't be pleasant. Hoops, incoming. What do you?
Drake started to say, then broke off as he heard a clopping sound. Hoofbeats. Around the corner of the hall, 2 horses walked. Gray, ghostly horses with blazing violet manes. Seeing him, they both snorted and charged.
Oh, man. Advice would be helpful.
The horses charged, and Drake followed suit, slashing at them with his sword.
Not the dragon sword, the rune one.
Earth yelled.
They're magical beings. Nightmares. I don't recall bad dreams about these things before, but I'm sure I'll start having some now.
Drake hurled his sword at one of the enemy's face, then scrambled around in his pack for the rune sword. A hoof caught him on the side of the head and knocked him flying as his hand closed around it, and as the enemy charged, he brought the sword up and took off its head. The other nightmare was flailing around with the dragon sword sticking out of its face. As he approached to finish it, however, it snorted, and a black cloud spread out from its nostrils and into his eyes.
Oh, gross. Die, already.
He sliced and felt it go still, then clawed at his eyes. No effect.
Crap. Blind. I'm afraid they do that, yes.
Earth remarked.
There seem to be quite a few more of them patrolling this area. You'll want to move into another room quickly, I think. There's a door over here. Thanks.
Following the element's voice, Drake located the doorknob and moved through it.
They can't open doors, right? No hands. They can still kick them down.
Earth corrected.
You're not safe, I'm afraid. I was afraid of that.
the thief confessed.
Right. Any ideas on how to not be horribly trampled? I got lucky with those two, but if they attack in large numbers, with me not even able to see. You've beaten worse odds.
Earth reminded him.
Yeah, but I had the other guys around then. Here. No such luck.
Drake frowned.
It'll be no good trying to sneak or run around them. Those things are a lot faster than I am. Any idea where I need to go? There's a pillar enchanted for teleportation down at the other end of that hall, but there's about 10 of those things in the way.
Earth explained.
Wait. There's something else here. A magical artifact. Now you're talking.
Drake grinned.
Can I get to it without running into the horses? Yes. I'll lead the way, follow my voice.
Earth led him through 2 more doors and to a pedestal. Reaching onto it, Drake felt metal, shaped like a hand. A gauntlet.
Okay. Now, here's the question. What does this do? Casts lightning too.
The element answered promptly.
And don't tell me you can't do magic. You can. Just focus your will into the gauntlet. Easy for you to say.
Drake muttered.
Are we having fun, ladies?
A cackling voice broke in the old man from the entrance.
You might want to pay attention, UVE got company.
Drake froze as he heard hoofbeats behind him, and turned around, unseeing.
They're coming.
Earth yelled.
Use it. Now. Right.
Drake pulled the gauntlet onto his hand, wincing at the weight.
Focus my will. That's one thing I have more than enough of.
He heard the enraged neighing, and snorting, and the deadly hooves. And then he heard the crack of electricity striking, and the other sounds stopped, replaced by agonized squeals and heavy thuds as the enemies went down.
Did I get them? You pass, all right.
The old man nodded.
Right, get going. Hey, you.
Drake yelled back.
What's the big idea, anyways? He's gone.
Earth informed him.
Come on, let's go. This way. All right, there's Invis. And I'd better cast fog too, just to be safe.
Mary told herself as she cast her protective spells. Upon realizing that she was alone, the white mage had quickly figured out that her life expectancy in a straight fight with most monsters would be measured in seconds, and acted accordingly. Now that she was concealed, she started down the hall, then froze as another humanoid figure emerged around a corner, female, but where hair should have been, a crown of live snakes hissed. A Medusa. One of the monsters that petrifies with eye contact. Without the others, just one mistake and I'm a statue forever. As the monster neared her, the snakes on her head all pointed in her direction, tongues darting out. Oh no, sense of smell. Slowly, the Medusa advanced towards her, and Mary averted her eyes, holding her hammer tightly. She swung, and the hammer hit but with her swing blind, it only glanced off lightly, and the snake-haired woman angrily bit Mary's wrist with snake-like fangs. Struggling to keep her grip, she swung again, missing entirely this time, and the Medusa struck at her back, knocking her down. The white mage frantically slammed her eyelids shut and rose again. This time, when she felt the enemy near her, she brought the hammer down from overhead, and felt the thump and crunch of bone along with a short, cut-off groan. Slowly opening her eyes, she saw that the Medusa was indeed dead, then winced as pain shot through her.
Poison.
Quickly casting an antidote spell, she shook her head.
This isn't going well at all. You seem to be having trouble.
The old man's voice noted as he stepped out of the wall above her, standing upside down on the ceiling.
Not much of a fighter, are you? That was never my department, no?
Mary agreed.
I'm just the healer. The others take care of offense, and I keep them alive. And what happens if you're separated from them in combat?
The old man raised an eyebrow.
What has happened? I get beaten.
Mary admitted, thinking back to their previous fights around the world.
But that just happens. Nobody can be perfect with everything. So you're still just as clumsy with that hammer as you were when you started out, is that what you're saying?
The old man inquired.
I don't think so. You might not be a sword-slinger weapons pro, but you have improved. And you can do so more, if you'll just give yourself the chance. You can fight. All you have to do is want to. That's the problem, I guess.
The white mage agreed.
I've never really been able to get the whole killer instinct thing down. Whenever I've fought, and killed, enemies, I've always been sorry I had to. Well, maybe not the fiends, but even then, I helped cause their deaths because I had to, not because I wanted to. Then make use of that.
The old man pressed her.
Use your detachment, and be more calculating, intelligent about your fights. And let your drive come from somewhere else.
Dropping down from the ceiling, he flipped around and stood before her.
Think about it. The others all have something that drives them. It's not just killing, and you know it. If it was, they wouldn't be heroes. Drake has an undying will, Vlad a burning heart. They're more similar than either of them would believe. The elf never gives up, and never backs down, no matter what he's up against. And your brother may seem to, but when he inevitably strikes back, it's twice as strong as before. As for Luke, he has the honest desire to use his strength for the good of the world. If you need a reason to fight, look into yourself. What drives you, Mary? A desire to help.
The white mage replied quietly.
That's all. I want to help people. To make their lives better. And my friends most of all. Then look at it this way.
The old man smiled approvingly.
You have to believe they'll make it through their own trials. But if they do you think that'll be the end of it? There's something else here, that won't be easy to beat. And they won't come out of their trials unscathed, believe me. To get out of here alive, they'll need you there, to help them. To keep them alive, as you said. If you lose here, they'll lose too. So, make sure that you don't.
Stepping back through a wall, he disappeared again, and Mary slowly nodded.
All right. He said to become more intelligent, calculating. That, I can do. I was lucky enough to kill the first one before it could call for others. I'll have to be more than lucky for the rest.
Creeping down the corridor, she waited by a corner for another Medusa to near. When it did, she whirled around and shoved a lamp spell into its eyes. At point blank, the bright light blinded the creature just as well as a dark spell from her brother. It reeled back, clutching its eyes, and Mary calmly waited, taking her time to line up her swing, then bringing her hammer down in a massive overhead smash that crushed the monster woman's head against the stones.
There. I just have to take them one at a time, and do it like that. And I'll make it through. Wait for me, guys. I'm not going to lose here any more than the rest of you. I hate this kind of magic.
Vlad steadied himself against a wall until the stones stopped spinning, then looked around.
Alone. Damn. Well, at least there's one person I can ask for help.
Pulling out the fire orb, he looked into it.
Hello? We seem to have a slight problem. I'll say.
Fire's face hovered in the air, a floating flame.
You're not kidding about that. I'm going to have a few words with a certain Dragon King later on, but for now on, we've got to get you through alive. We're in agreement on that, at least.
Vlad nodded, then thought of something.
The others. Are they in similar situations? Oh yeah, and they're up against monsters specifically chosen to work against their individual talents.
The element nodded grimly.
But they'll live. My brother will be helping Drake, and the old fart who runs the place will be working with the other two. That just leaves you. I'm in good hands, I feel.
The black mage smiled, then looked down the hall.
So, if they're against enemies that would be their worst nightmares, what do I get?
As soon as the words came out, the answer lumbered around a corner slowly, huge enough to fill the entire corridor. A man-like shape larger than an ogre, tall and wide, but clearly unalive, its flesh was red mud, and yet it moved, groaning. To his dismay, Vlad recognized what it was from studies as a child.
A mud golem. I didn't think they existed anymore. Tiamat still knows how to make them. She stationed a few here as guardians.
Fire explained.
I trust you know the problem here. They're resistant to almost all the magic I know. Fire, ice, lighting, poison, status, and death.
The black mage admitted.
That wipes out nearly my entire repertoire. There is an earth magic spell I've been working on, but I've still got a ways to go on that, and if I used it in this place, I might bring the whole castle down on all our heads. Damnation! At least it's giving you time to prepare.
Fire noted.
There's only one spell that you'll have a chance with. Fast. Me? Hand-to-hand combat? With that thing?
Vlad stared at the massive golem.
You're joking. Would you prefer to watch your spells bounce off of it?
She raised an eyebrow.
You're not completely helpless, you know. You've studied these things, you know where their vital points are. If you fast yourself, and use your spells to at least boost your own abilities, you can hit them. Alright, alright. If you say so, I'll give it a shot. It's not like I've got any other options.
Muttering the words of the fast spell, Vlad adjusted the grip on his dagger, then charged. As soon as he neared the enemy, a pillar of fire lifted him up off the ground.
I've seen Drake do this. Let's hope it's not too hard.
Shifting around, he pressed his feet against the ceiling for only a moment before pushing off towards the golem's head, even as its fist swung around. The move allowed him to dodge past it, and land on its head, where he promptly began striking at the space between its eyes, rapid fire with as much force as he could.
Come on, come on!
The hardened mud began to crack and break as the monster's other fist began to rise, and then it shattered, revealing a piece of paper with runes scrawled on it. One last stab pierced it, and the golem froze, then toppled over, lifeless. Vlad fell, wincing as he skidded across the ground.
Ouch! The landing! Knew I forgot the landing. Could be worse.
Fire shrugged.
That was a bit too close, though. Tell me about it.
The black mage winced.
Any more ideas? Well, there is one.
The element smirked deviously.
It might not work directly against them, but an ice spell cast on the floor might make them slip up a bit, wouldn't you say? They're hardly pinnacles of agility. Have I ever told you I love the way you think?
Vlad grinned as well.
I just hope there aren't too many of these things. Even I can't sling spells forever. Just 3 more.
Fire informed him.
I guess the old geezer didn't think it would be fair to put you up against too many of these powerhouses. Hey, how are you doing?
The old man in question rose up through the floor.
Oh ho! You seem to have this more or less under control. Oh!
He glanced at Fire.
Should have figured. Your brother's giving the elf advice too. Did you really think we'd just stand back and watch?
She regarded him.
If you didn't want us to help, you should have run this past us first. Yeah,
the old man muttered.
Just don't get any ideas about what comes after. If you wanted to do anything, you gotta let them stand on their own 2 feet sometime. Of course.
The element nodded.
That's different. You won't actually be trying to kill them.
She grinned fiercely.
And I'm sure you know what will happen if you actually do. Ooh, I'm quivering with fear.
The old man rolled his eyes.
Right, at least you're doing what you're supposed to be, even if you didn't think of it all by yourself. That'll do. Get going and meet up with the others.
He sunk into the floor again, and Vlad turned to Fire.
What was that all about? Come on, this'll be boring if I have to explain everything to you.
She winked.
You can figure it out, you're smart enough. Come on, there's another one coming. Let's blow it up.
The castle spun, and shifted around them. And then all 4 were together again, standing in a new hall. Turning, they regarded each other. Luke, covered in partially healed burn wounds, Drake, looking around blindly, Vlad, hunched over and wheezing. Only Mary seemed immaculate.
We all got put through the ringer, didn't we?
She stated blithely.
Don't look at me like that, I don't even want to count the times I got bitten. Just because I healed myself before I stepped through doesn't mean anything.
She frowned at Luke.
Looks like somebody healed you, too. Didn't do a very good job of it, though. Was it that old man? Nope.
Luke proudly raised the heal staff.
Did it myself, with this baby. And it was my first time, so of course I'm not too good with it. Yes, that explains why they're so clumsy.
Mary raised her hands.
I'll do it properly as soon as I lamp Drake. Good thing I have enough left for that. That really did a number on my magic reserves. You're telling me?
Vlad grumbled.
And that last one still got a hit in. That's what I get for being cocky. Busted ribs. With 1 hit? Sheesh, what did you get, a dragon?
Drake rubbed his eyes.
Ah, sight. How I missed you. Close. Mud golems. Totally immune to all my magic. I had to go hand to hand with them, and I'm sure you know that's hardly my specialty.
The black mage straightened up as his sister healed him.
Much better. Yeesh. I'm glad all I got was horses from hell.
Drake shook his head.
What about you, Mary? Medusas.
The white mage indicated a tiny, dead snake stuck to her hammer.
That was fun, let me tell you. I got cats that used magic. Fire too, to be specific.
Luke growled.
That old man's gonna get it when I find him. First, we have to finish up here.
Mary reminded him.
From what he told me, we're not done. There's one thing left, and it'll take all of us to bring it down. If what Razi and Huan told us is any indication, it won't be pretty.
Drake shook his head.
Let's go check it out.
They walked down the hall, unopposed, to double doors that swung open at their approach. Inside was the true throne room of the castle, a huge hall, backed with a throne large enough for the Dragon King that looked to be of solid gold. But that was not all that the throne room held. 4 dragon corpses, rot and decay covering them, sprawled across the floor. And then they moved, and dead heads turned to stare with empty sockets.
Zombie dragons! This won't be fun.
Mary scowled.
Good news is, they'll probably be weaker than living ones, unlike most zombies. Bad news is, there's 4 of them. Turning our backs on any of them would be suicide. We'll have to take one each. If that's the way we have to do it, we will.
Luke charged the nearest one, blade swinging with the fast spell. A claw swiped out and was met with his blade, rotting scales no longer held protective strength, and the limb was ripped down the center. Unfazed, the zombie dragon slashed with another, this time catching him and drawing blood. Luke struck back just as fearlessly, slashing at it as well and taking it off, only to wince as the first claw struck again, tearing at his head despite being carved in half. Growling, the fighter stabbed upwards and took the claws off at the wrist, stopping them at last. Mouth gaping in a silent hiss, the zombie dragon reared up on its hind legs, then fell forward, head darting out with broken teeth bared. Luke stood his ground and thrust with his sword, the maw closed on his arm, but the sword continued on through the back of the head into the neck, and with a swing Luke pulled it free, slicing off the head. The zombie dragon fell, and was still.
Come on, man. One-on-one with these things? I knew I should have read the fine print.
Drake quipped, fast spell on him as well. The enemy snarled at him, then slashed and stabbed with claws. Drake darted around, sword clanging off of them, but was unable to hack them off with as much strength as Luke. Instead, after several deflects, he darted under the claws and through the hind legs, wincing as one of them shifted to slash at him but continuing on. Once he was past the dragon, the thief backflipped past the slowly thrashing tail onto his foe's back, turned and dashed upwards. Hole-filled wings spread, but the thief continued past them easily. When the dragon reared up so that its back was completely vertical, Drake found footholds on the bases of those same wings as he slashed at the beast's neck. It tried to reach around with claws and fangs, but could not, and the dragon's sword sliced through its scales, taking the head off.
Hand-to-hand won't work here. But zombies are one thing I can fight.
Mary's hands glowed as she summoned the sphere of holy light, flying out and exploding in a blaze that sent her zombie dragon back against the wall, silently screaming as the spell eroded it. As soon as the spell faded, the beast blasted forward, desperately forcing what was left of its decayed form forward in a kamikaze rush. Diving onto Mary, it slammed its rotting bulk into her, then screamed silently as another Harm 3 spell finished the job, melting it away into nothingness.
Agreed, sister. These things are ours.
Vlad echoed Mary's holy magic with a fire spell of similar strength, the massive fireball blazing into the enemy and setting it alight. Silent but obviously in pain, the monstrosity lurched toward him like a blazing house given life, collapsing even as it lunged out with both claws as well as its fangs to try and bring him down before it failed. A minor ice spell on the floor, and Vlad slid backwards, away from the foe, then summoned another massive fire blast that sent bits and pieces of his enemy flying as the rest turned to ash.
Well done, all of you. Very well done.
The old man's voice drew their eyes to the throne, where he sat, clapping.
Well done indeed. You were right to come here. You were indeed strong enough to win. And more importantly, you all had the courage to do so despite the odds. You've passed the test with flying colors, light warriors. You have my congratulations, and my respect. You.
Luke started to turn on the old man angrily, then stopped.
Who are you? Some sort of guardian, a caretaker for this place? I don't think so.
Vlad shook his head.
I didn't get it at first, but now I do. It wasn't enough just to wait for us, Had to see how we'd do yourself, your majesty.
The old man grinned.
So, you figured it out. Indeed I did. And yes, I tampered a bit with what you would face, and where. When I said this castle was my home, I meant it. Even now, in this state, it listens to my voice.
Drake blinked.
Wait. You're Bahamut. Exactly.
The old man nodded.
This is a mental projection. I'm really still back on Cardia. Waiting for you. As I've said, you passed. Which means once you get back here, the training will begin.
He grinned wickedly.
I won't lie to you. I don't play nice. It'll be rough. But you'll make it through, just like you did here, and you'll come out of it twice, thrice, even 4 times stronger than before. With what I'll teach you, you'll make Kraken and Tiamat scream. Are you ready? As soon as we get back, we will be.
Luke nodded, then winced.
I just remembered, we'll have to walk all the way back to the airship first. That'll be a blast. I'll take care of that for you.
Bahamut offered.
Just take something from this room. It's the tradition, after all. Anything, What shall it be? Ooh, I know.
Drake grinned. Crossing over to a hole on the wall, he bent over and stabbed something, then turned and held up a dead rat.
Something from the throne room? This qualifies.
Bahamut stared at it for a moment, then laughed explosively.
So it does, young elf. Might as well just bring the tail if you're going to do it that way. Sure.
Drake sliced the tail off.
All right then. Let's go, shall we? As you wish.
The old man's eyes glittered, and the castle spun around them. And then they stood on the airship again.
It's nighttime.
Luke noted.
Bicky and the guys be sleeping. Let 'em nap. We could use some of that ourselves, I think.
Drake shrugged.
We can start flying back tomorrow. And then, back to school with the King of the Dragons. Hooray for us!
End of chapter.